Hey guys, welcome back to Entrance and Beyond. After a long time, I have a very good guest with me today. So, most of the engineering folks they spend most of their time waiting. They wait to perfect their resume, they wait for that one perfect project, they wait for that one perfect advice, and they end up waiting over the entire 4 years journey. But my guest today, she didn't wait. She actually went ahead, applied to a lot of companies, and she was a semi-finalist in Flipkart GRiD 7.0, where more than 100K students had registered from all over India. Being a semi-finalist itself is a big achievement, and she got an internship offer from Flipkart through this competition. So today she's going to give raw advice. It's not going to be sugar-coated LinkedIn advice. It's going to be her actual journey, her grind, what she did, what helped her out, and how she got that dream internship. So if you want to hear the truth and you're ready to grind, this is the podcast for you. So thank you so much, Ayushi, for coming on this podcast. It means a lot. So yeah, it would be great if you could tell a bit about your personal self before we dive into this beautiful journey of yours to Flipkart.
Thank you so much, Parime, for inviting me here, and I'm really glad. So, talking about myself, I am from Jammu and Kashmir. So, in my 10th and 12th, the cliche information about me, I scored 98.2 in my 10th. I was the school topper. In 12th, I scored 95, and I had PCM best 97.4. And then I gave my JEE and got into Cummins College of Engineering in Pune. I am into computer science branch, and yeah, from my first year, I think when I came from Jammu to Pune, I had this one thing in my mind. I want to explore as much as I can. I don't want to restrict myself to one thing or to one specific domain. I tried hackathons, I tried sustainathons, I tried ideathons, I tried also research, paper writing, etc. Failed in few. I think failed in a lot, but got accepted in a few. It should be the other way down. Yeah, that's pretty much it about me. I'm still learning, still exploring every other day.
Okay, great knowing about you. So before we go into the Flipkart grind, I want to know a bit about yourself. You already mentioned you were good in studies. That's pretty good. You had 98% percentage in 10th, 12th. You did good in J and all of that. But apart from that, how would you define yourself? Like who is Ayushi Bindroo? Before she got into college, how were things at home, and when did you decide that I want to go forward with this career after my 12th grade is over?
Well, answering your first question, who is Ayushi Bindroo? I would just like to define myself with one keyword. I am hardworking. That's what I love to call myself because I don't give up no matter what. And that shows in the last semester that we had. I gave interviews for multiple companies. I think people see that one result, but they don't know the hard work behind it. They don't know the efforts behind it. And but no matter what, I didn't lose the perseverance in me. I worked hard, and I just didn't lose my hope, and I gave it my all. Apart from that, I want to give a lot of credit to my parents, my mummy, daddy, and I think they are the ones that are my strongest pillars. I love to call them that. I remember I had an interview. I would like to mention the company, and because of some reasons, I was the only one who couldn't be, provided with an offer. And maybe there was some internal vacancies or something, and I cried like anything in front of my parents, and they were the ones who consoled me at that time. I still remember I was howling and how. But I think, yeah, it's your parents who stay with you, and they have just taught me to not give up no matter what. And I love challenges. It might sound as cliche as that, but I love exploring stuff which I've not done before. I love talking to people. I love having conversations. I love how people think. I love having conversations with people from different walks of life to know what their mentality is or what their mindset is. And talking about how I thought of CS, I would be very honest. So while in 11th and 12th, I prepared for JEE. It's joint entrance exam. I think most of the people might know. So you give JEE, and then if you qualify your JEE means you can give advance. And if you have a good score, you can get into good colleges. There's JOSA counseling, because of which I got into this college. And CS was the budding branch, but more than that, I think technology was something which just gave me a like a foot forward into what is happening around. And I think technology does give you a upper hand into how to build things. And it always excited me how this thing happened behind the scenes. and behind the curtains what exactly is happening. So yeah, CS maybe for that, and I had my percentile which allowed me to opt for this branch. So I get that also.
Yeah, because that is also quite important because everyone wants to get into CS, or at least that was what used to happen 4 or 5 years ago. Now I think a lot of people want to dive into ENTC and those other upcoming branches as well. But yeah, you need the score to actually get into CS. So, talking about your first year when you entered a college, first of all, coming from a totally different place, it's a new state for you, new location, new college, new set of people that you're going to interact with. So, how was that first month into college? And is there some mistake that you made? Talking about like on a personal level, because when you enter college, there are a lot of kind of people. There are people from different backgrounds. There are people that have different mentalities. There's some people that are actually there to support you, your real friends. There are a lot of people that are just there to pull you down. They don't really like your success. So is there some mistake that you made in the first year, and how was the journey? And if there's any advice regarding this for people that are just entering college?
Yeah, actually, I was just talking about this to one of my friends the other day. So, when I came into this college, I was a little homesick for, I guess, a couple of weeks. And I think that's very normal when you are coming from this far and you don't know when you'll go back home. But I met a couple of people here who were very amazing. I'm still in contact with them, and I wish to be in contact with them no matter where we go. And I was lucky enough to get good support system from those people. Talking about somebody pulled me down, honestly, I didn't have such an experience. I guess I was lucky for that. But yeah, one thing that I would love people to know is please be intentional about what you're venting out with whom. Because see, the people who you feel they are your friends in the first semester, they might not be even in your tight by the second semester or by third semester. Things change and it's okay. There's nothing to be ashamed about it. It's life. We evolve, we learn every single day. But just be very, very intentional because these things could follow you up in things or in ways that you might not have expected. So just to protect yourself from unnecessary drama or unnecessary chaos, I would suggest all the freshers, taking admissions in 2026 year, make sure you're friendly, be warm, be friendly, be open, talk to people, understand their perspective, understand their point of view and where they're coming from, but don't really overshare. Um, about your family, about your insecurities, about things that you might not want to bring yourself for trouble. And second would be to be open to things, be open to all the, you know, adventures or be open to all the things that are coming up, be it clubs, be it societies or anything. Yeah, so second point here would be to make sure that you're exploring as much as you can. I don't want you to restrict yourself to only academics and curriculums. That is the worst mentality that you can have. Trust me. You will find the most interesting people out of your classroom. You will find people who have built some amazing things, who have some very different perspectives towards life. I myself joined three societies in my first year itself, and I think, and also I was leading a club. I was the head of maths club this year in my college, and that's the same club which I joined in my first year, first semester. I was the only first year there, so all the seniors would treat me like a baby, and they would take me everywhere with them. And still, but when you become a senior, you have stories to tell. You have a lot of life experiences. You will understand what time management is, and all of these things accumulated, you will understand when you do something beyond your classroom, beyond your just academics and curriculum.
Okay. So, when did your internship journey start? Because when you're a fresher, you enter college, there's academics and things like that. But eventually, you figure things out that in order to get placed in a good company or to get a good internship, you have to work at home. You can't solely rely on what is being taught in college due to the fact that the syllabus is not that up to date. And, anyways, most colleges have theoretical exams, so that wouldn't really have a huge advantage because no company has this theoretical sort of exam in order to get into it. So when did your internship journey start, if you have a story regarding that, and how your prep came to how your prep began?
Yeah, sure. But before I answer that, I want everybody to know one thing. The market today, it's very competitive. It's not about, having one company in your head. I think this is a mistake which I did. I had one company which I was very obsessed with. I worked very hard. It didn't turn out in my favor. But I want people to know that you need to open your perspective, you need to wide open your mind, and you need to understand that the market is very competitive. You need to upskill yourself, and you don't need to rely only on your college, no matter if your placement cell is amazing or it's mid tier. No, it doesn't matter. You need to work on yourself and you need to work side by side. I would suggest you to take part in hackathons which are there, because I got into Flipkart through a hackathon. I also got a few other opportunities that were through hackathons, because getting your resume shortlisted into these big tech companies, it's, I would say, nearly not impossible exactly, but it's very difficult, right? Because there's a lot of AI screening which happens before any human sees your resume actually. So I would really suggest to keep hustling and just see the companies that you can apply to, no matter what it is, and do not just stick to one company before that. Yeah. So coming back to my internship thing, so I think I had a little knowledge because I used to talk to my seniors and I used to ask them about their experience and what exactly internship season looks like, what happens. And, then they told me that companies visit the campus and then they, ask you questions, then you have to prepare DSA. And I got to know that, okay, there's a thing called DSA, which is very important. It's non-negotiable. Then you have web development, you have machine learning, you can pick some skills too. See, DSA is non-negotiable. I would say that you might choose between web dev or machine learning, but you can't choose and pick among the three. Those two might be in the options, but this is non-negotiable. You have to do DSA. Because I think I heard it some other day that DSA. Why do we do DSA when it's not used in the company? But let me tell you that DSA will build your logic. Like it'll help you, like level up your A game for DSA or for building skills or building logical skills or thinking analytically. So when you go into the company, you'll be solving some real world problems. There would be some big code bases, and you would be actually working on something which will impact a larger crowd. And there you will have to use those logic building skills and analytical thinking. So DSA is the foundation for all of it. So for me, I started in second semester. So in our college in CS, our main programming language is Java and CPP, but for CS it was Java, and I was very comfortable with Java. So I explored platform like HackerRank, and I used to solve questions which were of Java, but not the actual DSA questions, like basic loop questions, or we can print the pattern, or you can do palindrome string, or Fibonacci series, stuff like that, just to explore and maybe see how much I know or what I can do in this field. Then the most important part for me was the transition between first to second year. That's when I remember I came across Shraddha Khapra channel. It's Apna College. So she had one short for MySQL, and it's, I feel, my personal observation, is one of the amazing videos. DBMS is still date my strongest subject. Like if interviewers ask what subject you want us to ask you on, my 1 hour and 15 minutes something, but it covered everything. So what I want to tell here is, in your summer break, you can explore what all there is. Like I learned MySQL. I also built certain projects in Java just to see how things work. And post that, when I came into college, I started then doing DSA. So I would suggest a few channels which work for me. So there is Telescope. He is an amazing person. Like the way he makes you understand things. He has some Java playlist. Then there's Kunal. Then there is Love Bubber, of course, Core Health. So I was doing my own research that now how should I start? Because see, preparing without a direction will not take you anywhere. You need to know what sheets to follow or maybe who to follow. They'll give you a roadmap. So I came across two sheets. There was Striver and there was Love Bubber sheet. I did both of them eventually, but just to start, I went ahead with Love Bubber sheet. So you can find on Geeks for Geeks, and you can put company-wise filters, difficulty level you can set for yourself. Let's say you did array today. and then you can just solve the questions based on array, or then you did stack, you did graph. So you can just do, data structure wise questions, and you can set a difficulty for yourself. So that's how you can get started with things. And one thing which I feel worked for me, and I would really recommend everybody to do that, please make notes while you are studying data structures and algorithms. And it's better if you make proper hard, like there should be a hard copy of all the notes. So I had a proper notebook, and it had written internship preparation. And in that, so see what happens when you have an interview tomorrow. You can't really go through all the questions again. You need to have a handpicked of problems which, when you solved initially, you were stuck, or maybe you felt that okay, this question was tricky, or this required a lot of thinking. So you can mark them as a star, and then you can go back to the star problems. So I used to mark those problems on the for weeks. And on the notebook, I used to mention the problem statement and the approach which I used, and space and time complexity, like that. And so I did the same on lead code, and then I did Stivers 75, blind 75, when I was like in my second year summer break, when my internship season was just around the corner. I did talk to a lot of seniors. So my third tip here would be, please talk to your seniors when your internship or your placement seasons are coming. Network with them. And by network, I think people misunderstand this. Your network should not be transactional. It should not look like that, okay, you have networked with seniors because you want to ask them. Just build genuine connection, because you don't know that a senior might refer you or might recommend you later, and that might help you a lot in the market that it is like today. So I'm very blessed to have a couple of amazing seniors who helped me throughout, and I would just randomly call them in any day, and they might be there in their internships, but they would reply back to me, and they would help me keep what I have to do now, and am I on the right track? Am I progressing further, or is there something that I need to do differently? So you don't know at that time. You need to have somebody who will give you a third perspective. So I think your seniors are the best people, because they have walked on the path that you are at. They have the roadmap. They know the things. They know the drill. So I think you should approach some seniors.
Yeah. So Ayushi, very well explained. You went very thoroughly with the DSA part. I just wanted to know the approach. Like I understood that you mentioned that you took notes, which is a very good thing. You like solved questions, took notes, and you had the STAR technique where you marked, the questions where you learned something new or the questions that you're generally stuck on. But how did you go about solving a problem? Suppose someone goes on lead code, they pick a random problem, they
Yeah.
pick it from a sheet or something. So, what was your approach to solve that problem? Like, did you think about it in a notebook? And then how long did you attempt that question? And if suppose you didn't get that question, what was your approach? Like, did you see the solution from the discussions, or did you, go to some YouTube channel and see the discussion? Like, what is an approach? Suppose you go to a question and you solve it. So, what was your approach, or what is your advice regarding that?
See, for this, I would just say one thing before that: please do not rely on AI tools, because it might look like you're just seeing the solution, you're reading the lines, you're copying it, and then you're pasting it. But the next day, you won't even remember the logic, you won't remember the approach.
Correct.
So, talking about me, when I used to come across a question which I've not, firstly, when I would start solving a question, I would try to put whatever I've learned previously. Let's say it's a question and I can see, it's sub overlapping problem, and I know dynamic programming might fit better here. So I try to create that memorization table and see roughly on my notebook. See, when you're starting off, by solving the problems, you might need notebook. At least that's what happened with me. But later on, when you've solved a bunch of problems, you can do it thoroughly too, if the question is not really hard. So initially, I used to pick a notebook and I used to do it. I used to do the dry run on my notebook, and then maybe build a logic. And I used to write a brute force approach first, and then it used to give a TLE, of course. And then I used to try to optimize the same solution. Sometimes I used to be stuck. I used to not understand what exactly should I do to optimize the solution, because, or maybe I might not have learned that particular approach, or maybe, maybe sometimes you have that. brain freeze. You can't really think of the solution. So at that time, I used to apply all the approaches I know. But even if after that I'm stuck, I used to go for video solutions, because I think when somebody is explaining the entire approach, you can go for Striver. Striver has, I think, answer to most of the problems. So he has a proper dedicated playlist for each data structure. There is graph, there is trees, there is stacks and queues, and there is a sliding window problem. So if you have any problem, you can write the problem statement or just the problem ID and then the platform, let's say 351 lead code, and you can go on YouTube and just watch the solution. Maybe you can watch it on 2x to save your time, and then try to do it yourself. Don't just copy their solution. Just understand the logic that they try to implement, and then try to code yourself. So I used to watch video solutions just to understand the logic behind their solution, and for code, I used to do it myself.
Okay. So that's pretty important to note. Something that I usually mention constantly is that the main focus should be understanding the logic. You shouldn't really focus on copying the solution or just getting the solution done with, because as long as you don't write the code, when you're actually in an interview or when you're actually giving an away round, things won't click to you because you just saw the approach, right? You haven't coded it up. And something else that she mentioned, even after watching the videos, she attempted the code herself. A lot of people, they watch the complete video and then they end up copying line by line. They just look at this, okay, this is the first line that he wrote, I'll write this line. But you're still not, you won't build the logic, right? As long as you don't grind with that question and actually try the different approaches yourself. So it's important to first of all try the approaches that you know. If you're stuck, watch the video solely for the purpose of building your logic, not for copying the solution. So that was pretty well explained. Now let's move to the other aspects of things, like you mentioned, web development or machine learning. This is generally what people choose, apart from DSA, because DSA is something that you have to do. Most companies ask for DSA. So what did you choose, and how did that journey exactly start, like web development or AIML projects, and what sort of projects did you build over your 4 years, or over your 3 years? Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so for we have in our college we have subjects dedicated for AIML, and then we have Java full stack technologies, and we have full stack as a subject. So in fact, this year we had those subjects. So talking about the projects that I built in web development, I made this one project wherein you can connect the people, like the restaurants, with the NGOs, so that the surplus food in the restaurants can be used for the people who are living in the NGOs, or the people who are a little underprivileged, and it can help them feed them, and then the food doesn't get wasted.
Correct.
So it was using full stack technologies with data MySQL as database, and for backend we used Apache. So at that time we just knew about all these technologies, and yeah, talking about where it all started. So I think I remember I explored AIML in my second year summer break when I was transitioning from second year to third year, because I have this habit, like when I'm about to enter a new semester, I see its syllabus and I like to explore all the things, firsthand before I actually get started with the lectures, because it just makes me feel more comfortable with the things, and it doesn't give me an anxiety. Okay, now I have to do things entirely differently. So that's when I explored AIML, because in our fifth semester we had AIML as a subject. So I saw all the algorithms. Not exactly you can do everything, but like there is heuristic approach, there is A star,
Yeah.
then there is a random forest, then there are a lot of other approaches too. So you can build models. I would say you can start with learning, like algorithms. Let's say you learn regression. So then you can take a data set from Kaggle, and you can code it, and you can build your model based on that, and then you can see whether it predicts right or not. Just to get started with the things. And once you've got a good hold, I would suggest there are certain competitions in Kaggle, which happen, I guess, very frequently.
Correct.
And you can turn on the email subscriptions. So, whenever there is an event which is going to happen, you can participate in that. It's all online. You don't have to go somewhere. And then I also participated in certain hackathons which were online. You had to you were given certain problem statements and you have to build solutions to it. So we made a project, AgriSetu. It was not in our curriculum. So it was actually from a club in our college, AICVS, which is a dedicated AIML college. So in AgriSetu, we basically created 5 tabs. There was a crop prediction, then there was a weather prediction, and then there was a cost prediction and dashboard and normal other tab. So we took data set from Kaggle and we built the model. So we used random forest there. We used k-means clustering there to see whether if you have a certain crop and then is it more likely to, like will it survive or not, like in the weather conditions that are around. And then very recently, I took part as a solo participant, and it was from YB Foundations, and I secured rank 1 there. So I made an AI platform for legal tech submissions and advice. So if let's say you have to submit a complaint, so you can just write a prompt. So I use Llama model for that in the backend.
No, yeah.
So you can write a complaint and it will, help you generate a draft, and then you can make some tweaks. And in that, I also went for that you can send email OTPs for if you do forget password, because I was always fantasized, you forget password, how does this happen? So I use SMTP protocol for that, etc. So this is how I, went ahead with these domains.
Okay. So I think the key is experimentation, because you were, experimenting before the college curriculum came to a start, and that is the best way to, explore things. So, Ayushi, when did you get to know about Flipkart GRiD, and what's the process? If you could summarize that first, the different rounds and the overall process.
So I had joined these certain WhatsApp communities, Arsh Goel, and then that Krishna Vijay have their WhatsApp community where they share all the opportunities that are coming up
Yeah.
with the year that are qualified to apply for that. So I think it was in Ash Goel's WhatsApp channel wherein I saw about Flipkart GRiD 7.0. Then I watched a couple of videos on YouTube about what it is and what's the stipend and what's the exact process. And not exactly the stipend at the first place, because that time just want to see what's the process and what's the structure. So I saw that, okay, it has the first is the screening round,
Correct.
wherein you will be uploading your resume. And I think if you qualify for that screening round, then you are qualified for the first round, which is the coding round. And then there is second round, which is the case study round. And if you qualify no, there are 3 coding rounds. The first and
Okay.
second are the coding rounds, how they are in the online assessments.
Yeah.
So if you qualify the second round, it means you are a semi-finalist.
Okay.
And then the third coding round, it's a case study round.
Okay.
So the problem statement that you see, it's
Yeah.
very elaborative. It's very long. There is like more like a problem statement.
Correct.
So if you qualify the third coding round, then you have to go to Bangalore to present your solution. You're paired up with the team. I could not qualify the third round. I
Okay.
just reached till the third round, so I was a semi-finalist.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this before, but in Flipkart GRiD, if you are a top performer, and let's say when I applied, I was just done with my second year, so I was applicable for an internship opportunity. But if you are in your third year while you're applying, let's say if I apply it now,
Yeah.
then I will get internship plus PP opportunities.
Okay.
Like you will get a full-time job, but you have to do the 6 months winter internship.
Correct.
But yeah, so all of this process, I think, so I filled the form in the month of May end, I guess. I don't really remember when it was
Yeah.
announced. Then during June, July. So at that time, I was at home. So I gave all the coding rounds in Jammu. I wasn't here in college. So yeah, till August, I think we were done with, till first week of August, we were done with all the rounds. And I forgot about it completely. I didn't know that, okay, there are PPA opportunities.
Yeah.
Then in the month of November, I think 14th November, I got this mail from the HR that I am one of the top performers and I have been given the PPI opportunity. And just the next day, I had my interview. It's not even that I had 10 or 15 days
Correct.
because I had heard a lot of people say that okay, they got 10 days, they got
Yeah.
15 days.
Usually get some time. It must have caught you
Yeah.
off guard, right? Because you weren't expecting it in the first place, and then you suddenly get it on top of that.
Yeah. But I think what happened to be in my favor was that in the last semester when it happened, I
Yeah,
was giving a lot of interviews on and off. So it wasn't like, okay, now I have to prepare everything. I knew
correct,
about things. I just had to brush up, which I do before every interview.
correct.
So, and during that time, I was also going through my externals. So in our college, we have oral examinations and we have practical examinations.
Yeah,
So on 14th, I had one exam, and on 15th, I had another exam. So now I was like, what do I do? Should I prepare for the interview or should I like study for the next oral examination? So I just, again, I went on to my notes. I just saw all the start questions. For CS fundamentals, I had made a proper Google Doc and it had multiple tabs for operating systems, for DBMS, and for OOPS, for computer networks.
yeah,
I think I don't really like computer networks much, so I
yeah,
revised that properly. And then, but I think you should focus more on OOPS and operating systems because a lot of companies mandatorily ask OOPS. In my interview, I was asked OOPS just after I was done with my introduction. So it was like a proper discussion, I would say, around OOPS and its concepts. So I revised all the CS fundamental things that I'd written in Google Docs. So I had created that one doc which I used to refer to just before my interview. So I also watched Love Bubber one shot. So you can go on Love Bubber's channel YouTube and you will find one shot related to OS. And it's a little longer for one shot. It's like sometimes it crosses two
yeah,
hours or
yeah,
2.5 hours. So you can watch in 2x, or if you are well versed with a few topics, you can skip those topics. So
correct.
I would suggest just watch those topics which you are not really comfortable with.
Yeah,
So I watched for encapsulation, I watched for polymorphism, for loops,
yeah,
and I just skipped inheritance and abstraction. I didn't watch for DBMS. For operating system, I wanted to see what threading is and what is multi-threading because a lot of companies ask you about multi-threading.
correct.
What's a process?
Yeah,
What's a thread? What's the difference? Which is better, multi-processing or multi-threading? What's the difference? Um, Also, I did the theory of data structures.
yeah,
Let's say, I'll just give you an example. So let's say you are surfing on internet and you are on a tab and you want to go on the previous tab or the next tab, which data structure will you use? So like doubly linked list. So all these theoretical information about certain data structures, what's a stack, what's a queue, what is its use case, what's the time complexity, implementation of stack using queue and vice versa. Then where do we apply greedy approach, where do we apply dynamic approach, and why? Because so in my interview, I had two rounds of interviews. So one was completely technical and second was techno managerial. So one I had at 15th. So the very same day, I think around 7 p.m. in the night, I got a mail that I have qualified round one and I'll be having my second round the next day, which was on 16th. And talking about my first round, it lasted for I think 1.5 hours.
yeah,
There were two people in the panel, and one was a UI UX engineer, and he had like 5 years of experience. And second was I guess SDE 2 at Flipkart, or I think SDE 3 at Flipkart. So both of them started off with their introduction, and I gave my introduction. And just after I was done with my introduction, they asked me about what language do I use. So I said Java. And fortunately, Flipkart also uses Java as its main language. So that I think benefited me. So they asked me, questions about Java, pure Java. So situational questions also, and then differences between Python, Java, and CPP. Then, as I said, they grilled me a little on OOPS. So they said, take an example of a television and explain all four pillars of OOPS. So I did that. And later on, we talked a little about my projects, which were mentioned on my resume. But it was like a very brief discussion for, I guess, 5 to 7 minutes. Then they had shared me the link of Hire Pro. So all the coding assessments in Flipkart are conducted on Hire Pro, and also the video interview which happens, it also takes place on Hire Pro. So they'll share you code share links wherein they can see what you're writing and everything.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of companies they have this culture of sharing Google Docs link. I think in
Yeah,
Google it
yeah.
is
I
like
think with
that.
Google, yeah, with Google they used to
Yeah.
have this Google Docs.
So I think to all the people who are watching, make sure that you're not really relying on the auto completion. So make sure that you
Yeah,
know about a few packages that you're using. What are you importing? And the basic template, because sometimes you won't get the boilerplate template. So you
yeah,
need to be familiar with it.
yeah. And I think on lead
So
code it's also not available a lot of times. So like you just write the code, right? So you're not used to it sometimes. So you mess up with that, and also the input output in some companies. Like if you're familiar with HackerRank, I think you'll be good with that. But in lead code, most of the times they don't ask for input output. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. In code forces also you have to take input
yeah,
and then you have to also print the output.
correct,
So yeah. But yeah, so in the higher program, there was this function, how it is in Geeks for Geeks and Lead Code,
yeah,
and I had to complete the function. So the first problem was on dynamic programming. So as I said, they asked me what would you use. So while you are solving a question and you are in an interview, make sure that you're not jumping to just coding. Even if you
correct.
know the problem, or even if you have seen the problem one night before, do not make it very obvious to the interviewers. They might change your problem at the last moment, and you don't want that for yourself. So, and even if that's not the case, it's a good practice to make sure that you are explaining the problem statement, explaining your approach. So, what I did was read the question because they asked me if they should do it. I said no, it's okay, I'll do it. So I read the problem and I just told them what have I interpreted from the problem and is it correct or do I need some tweaks into it. And then I took the input and the expected output and I did a dry run based on my logic. But before dry run, I told them looking at the problem. So since it was a dynamic programming problem, I told them why DP should be used here and why not greedy. Because it's a global optimum and not a local optimum. So
Correct.
you should go for DP. And I explained that for like 1.5 minutes. I gave it good time so that they don't think that we have mugged up the pattern or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
So post that, I went ahead. Of course, at every step, make sure that you're taking their permission. That, very subtly, should I do the dry run or should I start coding like that?
yeah,
So I asked them, should I do a dry run? Not that you just started because sometimes they have a little time crunch. So you have to make sure that you're ensuring everything is, ending at the right time. So when they said yes, I inside the code editor, I used the comments and I did the dry run. And when they were satisfied with the dry run, they asked me to code, and I coded everything. And even while I was coding, I made sure that I am speaking while I am writing.
yeah,
So I was making them understand. And I think I watched Triber's video
yeah,
wherein he mentioned the importance of speaking out loud in a coding interview. There is Nishant Chahar, who I follow.
yeah,
He was the SDE at Microsoft.
correct.
So I saw one of his mock interviews with, I don't remember the female's name, but there he mentioned, and I saw the approach wherein he was, reading all the lines, he was explaining. And second, clean code. Make sure, like how you practice at home, you write I, J, K, or,
Yeah,
random variables, A, B, C. So make sure, let's say if it's about uh, the frog jump problem. So if let's say you have to count, so your variable should be like step, then count,
correct.
then jump like that. And when you are incrementing, let's say do jump plus plus, make sure above that you in the comment you write that you are incrementing this. In short, so clean code is very important. They also see that do you understand the importance of clean code, or can you think out loud, or can you work under pressure? That's also very important. So do not just mess up with writing the code. Make sure you're alert there. And yeah, once I wrote the code, they were satisfied. I just submitted my solution and all the test cases were passed. There were, I think, 11 or 12 test cases. So yeah, post that, we moved on to a little more discussion. It was for, again, 3 minutes. It was about SQL queries. They asked me, so there was this one SQL query wherein I had to do it using subqueries and also using limit. So, when you have to, let's say, return the top three performers, you can use limit three, or you
Correct.
can also use subqueries. So, why do you prefer limit over subqueries? It was just a little discussion. Then there was second problem on the same link that they had provided. So, it was of BFS approach.
Okay.
So, breadth first search that I did using the same approach I did in the first question. Then they were satisfied. They didn't ask me to optimize my solution in either of the questions. I mean, it was already optimized, so it was a brute force. But yeah, they looked satisfied, and then all the test cases were passed. Yeah, then I think they ran out of time, so they just wrapped up the interview. Yeah, in the closing part, make sure you have some questions. I mean,
Yeah.
when they say, when they say any questions for us, don't just say that, no, it's fine. I mean, you do get a couple of hours to research about the company. So for
Correct.
me, I think I have been a customer of Flipkart for so many years, even now. So I knew. So I asked the UI UX guy, I asked him about how do they manage so many customers at once and like that. And second, I asked them about their experience. I asked them about the payment gateway part. How do they make sure that there is security? And a little, like, don't ask just generic questions like that. And I asked them about my, like, about their opinion on how I did or how I performed in the interview, but they usually don't give the
Yeah.
feedback. But you can just ask them, like, was it, like, is there any way,
Way to
any
improve.
sector or any area, yeah, to improve. So yeah, that's all. And then I started off with preparing for my oral exam the next day. It was back to back. And then in the evening, I got an email that I have my techno managerial, which
Yeah.
is for 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So next day I came back, I gave my own examination. I came back at 2, and at 3 I had my interview. So the interviewer, he had 13 years of experience. So that, like, intimidated me a little in
Yeah.
initial few minutes, but the interview was really sweet. He made me comfortable, and I think he saw that I'm a little nervous. So it was very sweet and polite. It was entirely techno managerial. There was no DSA question solving in that round. It was just about my projects, a little more deep dive into the projects that I've done, and behavioral questions.
Okay.
So for behavioral questions, you can go on Geeks for Geeks or Medium blogs. You'll find plenty of them, and you can prepare. So, and be very authentic while you're solving the behavioral questions. Do not just make up the things, and
Yeah.
be transparent. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So very well explained. I think you explained all the details in a very well, like, detailed answer. And I think the question part was really important, because a lot of people, they freak out in the interview, and they don't understand that the company, they're hiring talent, so they look for the overall personality. It's not like a college viva where you have a standard answer. You have to memorize a standard textbook definition, and that
Right.
must have shown them that this person actually is genuinely interested in joining our company. And it's always great mentally as well, even if suppose you didn't do good in the interview. I think from the
Yeah.
mental aspect or from the learning aspect, it's also very important to get some feedback if possible. Most of the times they don't give you feedback due to certain criteria that they have, but in case if they do, it's really good from your end, because you can really learn things and improve overall. Uh, I wanted to talk about soft skills and communications, because something that I have observed throughout this podcast so far is you're really clear in your mind, and you're really good with articulating your thoughts and actually getting it across to the person. in front of you. And I think that's the main thing about any interview, because it's a human to human interaction. So you must have a proper way in which you articulate your thoughts and you get your idea across. Because a lot of times, like even in DSA, you mentioned that you were able to explain each and every step. So the person in front of you must have had a very clear idea that she actually knows her concepts and she's able to explain it in a very articulate manner. So how did you work on this? Because I know a lot of people that they have the skills, but for some reason they're either shy or they're nervous and they're not able to get the idea straight. Even for myself, a lot of times, even I've done a lot of podcasts, but sometimes what happens is I'm not very straight and articulating the question. I might
Hmm.
mix it up or complicate it. But for you, I think that is something that I have observed, that you're very clear in your thoughts and articulating them. So how did you like build this up, and how can people like have that sort of communication skills like you do? Like how can they also excel in that?
I think a major chunk of credit goes to my mom for this. Like, um, from very early on, when I was in first or second standard, when you're very young, she used to go to my teachers in those parent teacher meetings, or very randomly, she used to go to my school and ask my teachers to make sure that they're giving me opportunities to stand on the stage and just speak whatever. Sometimes it used to be those 3 lines, sometimes an
Yeah,
entire page. So growing up in my school, I was head girl. I was a vice captain for clubs there. And, very frequently I used to go on the stage and just speak whatever and face a huge crowd. So I would just say, if you didn't get that opportunity in your school, make sure you're making the best of it in the college. In college, you get a lot of opportunities to maybe host events, to talk to people. Even now, I think I do sometimes feel anxious to head up to people and just start a conversation, but I think I do it no matter what. I don't know, I just say this to myself in the head, you have to do it. Just get up and go and talk to them. Maybe just start with a hi, and then it will, you'll just go with the flow. And even in college, as I said, I did lead a few clubs, and this semester, I had this bucket list. I want to host an event, or maybe, act as an anchor. So I did that. So no matter what, just take up the opportunities, because see, this is a time when your stage fare will come out, and
correct.
you will get better at things. Because once you go into the corporate, this is my understanding as of yet, from what I've heard from my seniors and my cousins around, that once you go in that industry, people are very far ahead. Even if you don't feel confident, please fake it. It's okay. Everybody's faking it.
Correct.
Nobody has it all figured out. Just pretend as if you know, or you're very, confident or content in your own skin. Build a thick skin. People will say something. People will mock you behind your back, or it might come you through ways. It's okay. You are being better at it every single day, and that's what matters at the end. Nothing matters. So
Yeah.
yeah, mummy and myself, I guess.
Yeah, so that's pretty important to know. Like you have to put yourself out there, and I think that's even the mentality of many cricketers I know. Like personally, Virat Kohli, I think he's someone who doesn't really care about what the
Yeah.
person in front of you is thinking about. Like even from a young age, like he took the game on. Like there's two things: you can either take the game on, you can like attack, or you can be over defensive. But I don't think in the long run being over defensive is gonna help you out. So just put yourself out. Don't really care about what the person in front
Right.
of you thinks, and that is probably something that is very important from the mental aspect of things. So, Ayushi, is there any tip that you have regarding resumes? And I think for DSA, I think you said that DP and topics like that were covered. So I think people can find, like, do you have any advice for that as well? Like a list of topics that you should prepare in DSA, and any
Mhm.
advice, like one big advice for your resumes?
I'll start with the DSA thing. For all the people who are currently in their second year, I mean, they will be going to their third year. I know your internship season is coming up, and you might be a little scared of topics like graph or trees.
Yeah,
So my suggestion would be, make sure that you're completing arrays, stats, queues, um, also linked lists. But I've not seen a lot of companies putting up questions
yeah,
on
on
linked
linked
lists.
list. Yeah,
So maybe you can keep that for later. But for now, array, stats, queues, sliding window,
yeah,
two-pointer approach. Make sure that you're solving questions. And as I said, you can start up with Stiver's sheet. I personally love Bubble. That's Tiver very later on, like in the last semester, the blind
Okay.
75.
Yeah.
So you can go on Geek. You can just search Love Bubble Geeks for Geeks, and let's say you did arrays today. Then tomorrow you can put take on stacks and you can solve questions on stacks. So
Yeah.
these topics you should do before you are preparing for your online assessments. I'll say not many companies will ask questions on graphs or trees, at least in the online assessments. If you are in your third year and you will be
Yeah.
preparing for internship hiring process, if it's good if you do, but if you feel like there's a lot of syllabus, focus on these topics as I mentioned: arrays,
Yeah.
then there is strings, there is stacks, there is queues, two-pointed approach, sliding window approach, a DP. In DP, you should go for memoization table because you might um, get hit with TLE if you just go with the normal DP. So you have to
Yeah.
use memoization table.
Yeah.
So see the optimization techniques, know how to calculate space and time complexity. Because in online assessments, they won't ask you, but in interviews, they will
Yeah.
definitely ask you about the space and time complexity. And for online assessment, in my college, there were only two companies that asked your aptitude. For
Okay.
aptitude, I actually made a proper link for myself, a drive link, wherein I had multiple resources. So you can use India Bits,
Yeah.
and then there is Unstop. For Unstop, also there are multiple
Yeah.
questions. I used India Bits. Um, then there is this. I forgot the name. There's this book when you have puzzles,
Okay.
and
It
I'm
might be
not able
R.S.
to.
Agarwal. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
no, R.S. Agarwal doesn't have puzzles. It has
So one of
puzzles.
my friend is in IIT, and he mentioned me the book.
Okay.
So yeah, like there is a proper playlist also. Trick Code is the name of the channel, which has all the easy level problems covered of that book. There are 30 problems. Then there are Geeks for Geeks puzzles also. Like, there's a candle and then there's a wire. And
Yeah.
how will you, just see how much time has happened, like that. So puzzles like these. So focus on firstly completing the DSA questions, and then you can go ahead and do aptitude. Apti won't take you more than
Yeah. It's
3 or
not
4
a very
days.
vast topic.
Yeah,
You can do
3
that
or
in.
4 proper days, not more than that.
Yeah.
So all of this should be done before you're appearing for your online assessments.
Okay. And what about the resume? Just one piece of advice, if you have
Hmm.
any advice regarding that.
So I used Overleaf if somebody's a beginner.
Yeah.
Um, it has latex code. So I used to use ChatGPT to like
Generate the code.
generate the code, and then I can compile and download the PDF. But make sure that you are reviewing the PDF once
Correct.
before downloading it or just
Yeah.
uploading it somewhere, because sometimes ChatGPT's language is very generic, or it uses
Correct.
some M hashes, or some random things.
Yeah.
Let's say, especially in the projects part, let's say you have the title of the project and then you have the description. Make sure that that description is very concise. Because let me give you an example. Let's say in your resume you have 3 projects. So your interviewer will not go through all 3 projects. They will ask you about one project.
Correct.
Maybe a brief conversation about all three, but a deep dive would be only on one project because there is a time
Correct.
crunch.
Correct.
So, how will they decide which project to go ahead with? A lot of times they do ask which project are you comfortable with, but let's say if they don't do it, then they will see the description, and whichever align with what they are doing in the company, they'll go ahead with that.
Yeah.
So make sure your description is very to the point. It's straightforward. You're not just beating around the bush, because that won't help you.
Yeah.
So I would suggest write the description yourself because you've done the project, you know what it is. Otherwise, you can use ChatGPT or Claude for that.
Okay. Now let's move to the rapid fire questions. I'll put a question for you. Whatever comes into your mind, you can
Yeah.
answer accordingly. So, motivation or discipline? What do you prefer?
Discipline.
Okay. Late night DSAs or early morning DSA?
Late night. I'm a, night owl.
By doing or learn then do?
Learn by doing.
Okay. Imposter syndrome, is it an occasional visitor or a permanent roommate?
Permanent roommate.
Okay. One strong mentor or trying to figure it out yourself?
One strong mentor.
Best friend during prep, was it a notebook or was it like Google Docs or something else?
Notebook.
When the offer came, who was the first person you called?
My dad.
Biggest thing college taught you that you wouldn't have learned otherwise, or like something out of the syllabus that you learned?
Okay, it's non-technical. It's something to do with life. There'll be a lot of people who will in yours, like in front of you, they might show that they're very happy with something you got, but behind your back, they won't. And as I said earlier, that you will come to know about all these things through ways, it just finds your way. I just want to tell you, and this is something that I learned the hard way. Please do not pay heed to all these things. Keep doing what you're doing. Believe yourself. If you have decided to do something, it doesn't matter who thinks what, because people will always have an opinion. And let me be honest, even we have opinions about others,
Yeah,
don't we?
correct.
It would be a big lie if you say no, we are very clean as a person, we don't say anything. We do, at least I do. So it's fine if somebody else is having some random thoughts about me. I know if I have some thoughts about somebody, that person is not getting impacted. So similarly, if X is having thoughts about me, I won't get impacted either. So let me do my thing, because eventually when results will come, everybody will see and they'll know that, okay, she worked hard and she deserved it. So it's fine. Do not pay heed to people, and please do not just let anybody belittle you, and know your worth. And about the technical things, which I said in the beginning of this podcast, talk to people who have done that thing. And the seniors are the best, I would say, cookbook. They know everything. And it's a little unpopular opinion, but there are some professors in the college that are willing to help, and they're
Yeah,
very sweet, they're very welcoming.
but you have to reach out
Um,
to them.
Reach out. And also, I think when people come into college, they have this mentality now we're not in school, so professors are just till the lecture room or till the classroom. We don't have to keep any connection with them. It's not like that. Do not listen to what everybody or your peers are doing. Do not just randomly flow into the peer pressure. I myself went to a lot of teachers. Sometimes it was apart from my curriculum, sometimes it was a concept that I was not able to understand myself. And they were so sweet. There was a teacher who stayed back for 1 hour with me to make me understand that concept. And our exams were coming. So teachers are very helpful. You have to go out and ask them for help. Same is the case with seniors. So don't hesitate in asking for help. And second, do not let anybody belittle you.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. Who's your favorite like celebrity or sports person who you might like look up to or idealize?
Uh,
It can be anyone. Like,
I don't really watch, but I think Virat Kohli, as much as I've heard his speeches, I
okay.
really feel good when I hear him speak.
One big risk or 1,000 small safe bets. What would you do?
Depends, but I think thousand small bets.
Who's that one person who believed in you before you started to believe in yourself?
My mom, my dad, and my brother.
Okay. The hardest part of prep, starting or staying consistent?
Starting.
Okay. Uh, Writing the whole code from the start or debugging it for 1 to 2 hours? Which one do you prefer?
Writing the code from start.
Okay. Best thing that you like about the culture in Jammu or Kashmir, or something that you really love that you sort of miss or people should learn from, like talking about the culture.
Um, so since I have a soft corner for the place, I think people there are a little more welcoming than what I found when I came here. If you go to JNK, you will find people, they'll talk with wide smile, and everybody. Uh, it's not that people live in silos; they're
Correct.
not living isolated. They're more curious to know, and like people might say that they're poking their nose in between or whatever. But I think that's what I've seen growing up, and I feel it's a very warm culture. People are very warm there, and there's no nitpicking as such.
Yeah.
And it's not like if somebody's suffering and nobody will step in. It's not like that. People are always trying to help, which I found a little less coming here,
Yeah.
and I still do. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is one thing that people should learn.
Yeah. No offense to the Pune folks. Like I myself have moved to Pune like some years back, but no offense to them. And the last question is Jammu Kashmir winters or Pune's monsoon season? What do you like better?
Jammu Kashmir winters any day.
Okay. So Ayushi, thank you so much for spending some time on this podcast. I don't feel like ending the podcast. I think there is still a lot of things that we can learn from you, even on a personal level, and definitely the folks that will watch it, they will take a lot. So thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It really means a lot, and thank you for being so articulate and actually sharing raw advice, even on the personal level. Most people don't give personal advice on podcasts, but it's really good to have someone who was ready to share their personal journey, share their technical journey, and share this entire beautiful journey. So wishing you the best for your future. I know you'll do good because you're already doing pretty good. So like keep up with the good work and keep up with your speaking skills. And yeah, is there something you want to tell the audience? If you miss something, you can definitely let the audience know as we come to the end of this podcast.
Yeah, just one thing: keep exploring, keep learning, but make sure that you are living your college life to the best. Enjoy your life; these years will not come back. I think all the patches that pass out, they just say this one thing. So keep exploring, but don't take life too seriously. It's fine. You'll survive all of it, and you got this.
Okay. So thank you once again. It was great hosting you.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you from here.